2 is on properties of functions. So some information or some words that you need to know are the domain is the first set of elements, the range talks about the second set of elements, and a function is a special type of relation between the elements in the domain and its association with exactly one element in the range. So if something from your first set has more than one association with something in your second set, it is not a function. It can only relate to one thing. So here we go. Let's take a look at this first example here. It says draw an arrow diagram to determine if this is a function. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to start by drawing our lovely arrow diagram. So we once again have our circles. We're going to put our information into it. So I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60. And what we're going to do is we are going to take and we are going to draw ourselves some lovely lines. So 1 goes to 12, 2 goes to 24, 3 to 36, 4 to 48, and 5 to 60. So we can see that every element in set 1 only has one arrow going out of it. So the 1 only has an arrow to 12, 2 only has an arrow to 24, and so on and so forth. That means that this is a function. So yes, this is a function. And the reason it's a function is everything in the domain, which is set 1, so this is our domain, is associated with one element of set 2, which is our range. All right, example number 2, write out as ordered pairs and then determine if this is a function. So we're going to write these as ordered pairs. So I have January and I have 31. I have February and I have 28. I have March, 31. And I have April, and this is 30. So when we're looking at ordered pairs and determining if we have something that is a function or not a function, then the elements that come first within your bracket, so these ones right here, are what we would call our domain. So these are our domain numbers, or elements, I should say. And the ones that come second, these ones right here, are considered our range elements. Now, we were told that the domain must be unique, which means it can only appear in one set. So we don't have anything that repeats. I have January, February, March, and April. Nothing repeats in this first portion of my elements. I have repeating here and here, but those are part of the range, so those don't matter. That is okay. So that means that yes, this is a function. Range can repeat, domain cannot. So you think of it as your domain can only have one partner, where your range can have multiple partners if it so chooses to. So here we go. We're going to talk about independent and dependent variables. So an independent variable is a variable whose value is determined by the value of another variable and whose value determines the value of another variable. So anytime we're talking about independent variables, some examples would be time is always, no matter what, time is always going to be an independent variable. So time is an example. Dependent variables, normally money, because the amount of money you get for something is dependent upon something else. All right, so your domain, when we go back to thinking of this as domain and range, your domain is always your independent variable and your range is always going to be your dependent variable. Now, let's take a look at example number 3, and it says, write out as ordered pairs what is the domain and range of the following data. So we're going to write this as ordered pairs, but first let's take a look to see. This here, we are already knowing that the domain is going to be related to my independent variable. So let's take a look and figure out what the independent variable is first. So I have hours and I have pay. We just talked about the fact that time is always your independent variable. So that means this here is my independent variable. And this set right here is my dependent. Because the amount of money I make depends on how many hours I've worked. So now that we've got that established, we can write these into ordered pairs, and then we can talk about what the domain and range of these would be. So ordered pairs would mean I have 1 hour and I get paid 12, 2 and 24, 3 and 36, 4 and 48, and 5 and 60. So now that we've got our independent dependent variables, I'm also knowing that these the first ones within my set are my independent, which means they are also my domain. And I know that the second ones here are my independent, so I know that they are also my range. Now, when I want to write this out, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say domain, so D, is the following 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's my domain. And my range, which we're representing with R, is 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60.